Over this past stretch of time, Pisces may have found yourself wondering why your heart has felt unsettled, even when, on the surface, everything seemed to move along just fine. There are mornings when you wake up, before a single thought forms, and yet something inside you is already awake. A quiet feeling, clear but gentle, like a thin wave brushing softly against the shore. Not loud, not dramatic, just a steady presence, persistent enough that you can't ignore it. This is how Pisces intuition works. It doesn't shout. It doesn't force. It whispers. And because it whispers, you may have tried to dismiss it, to rationalize it away, to convince yourself that everything was okay. But deep down, you've always known you were sensing something more real than what the eyes could see, or the ears could hear. Sometimes it was something very small, a look that lingered a second too long, a sentence that sounded casual but landed differently, a silence that stretched further than it should have. Each of these moments left a mark inside you. Pisces doesn't need hard proof, because your heart works like a living compass. It vibrates softly whenever something drifts away from the truth. You may have blamed yourself for being too sensitive, too emotional, but the truth is, your intuition has never betrayed you. There may have been times you wondered why you felt exhausted without doing anything heavy, why familiar things suddenly felt heavier to carry, why your soul felt like it was waiting for some kind of confirmation from the universe. That wasn't weakness. That was a sign. You were moving very close to an important truth, something that needed to be seen, so you wouldn't have to keep living in that in-between space, between knowing and not daring to know. Pisces intuition moves like water. It slips through every crack. It seeps into thoughts, into emotions, slowly, patiently. It doesn't appear to scare you. It appears to protect you from continuing to lie to yourself. Some truths, if they arrive too early, can cause real harm. That's why intuition only knocks when you've reached enough depth, enough experience, enough compassion for yourself. And if you're hearing these words now, it means you've already traveled a long way, further than you realize. One of the most beautiful qualities of Pisces is your ability to feel the pain of others. But what you're learning now is how to feel yourself with the same gentleness. Intuition doesn't come to demand immediate decisions. It comes to remind you that your feelings are valid, that the silence you sense is not emptiness, but a space being prepared for truth to enter. When you allow yourself to pause, to take a deep breath, and stop trying to understand everything with your mind, you begin to realize something quietly powerful. Your heart has known the answer for a long time. You may not be ready to name it yet, but you are ready to listen. And sometimes, that is enough. That's when truth begins to find its way toward you. More gently, more carefully, in the exact way your soul can receive it. Just like morning light never arrives all at once. It spreads slowly, evenly, and before you realize it, the sky has already changed color. Pisces is the same way. You don't need to rush. Just keep trusting that quiet knowing inside you, because some things don't need to be proven. They only need permission to appear. And when you're ready to open your heart, just a little more, you'll finally understand why none of those feelings you carried for so long were ever meaningless. And right after that moment, life begins to whisper to you in ways that feel deeply personal, not loud, not dramatic, just small details, repeating often enough that they can no longer be dismissed as coincidence. An old face suddenly drifts into your thoughts, even though you weren't trying to remember. A casual comment from someone lands directly on something you've been keeping hidden. A song starts playing. At the exact moment your heart feels heavy. Pisces notices these things clearly, as if someone were gently placing a hand on your shoulder quietly suggesting to look a little closer and not turn away too quickly. Some dreams come and go, but others stay. They linger long after you wake up, leaving an echo that follows you through the day. You may not remember the details, only the feeling afterward. A feeling that is familiar yet strange, comforting and unsettling at the same time. Your intuition begins to connect the scattered pieces, not through logic, but through a deep, instinctive resonance. And then there are unexpected moments, when you're doing something completely ordinary and suddenly your heart softens, as if everything becomes slightly clearer, even though no one explains a thing. The universe is never in a hurry, but it never stops sending signals. For Pisces, those signals often arrive through emotion, through empathy, through the ability to sense what lies beneath the words. You may have wondered why you're always the first to feel a shift, why you sense a relationship losing its rhythm before it actually breaks, why you know a path no longer fits, even before you have a clear reason. That isn't coincidence. That's the way your soul communicates with the world. There are times you try to ignore the signs because facing the truth has never been easy. But the more you turn away, the clearer the signals become. They show up in different forms, like water that never stops, finding its way forward. Slowly, you begin to realize that everything is guiding you toward the same point, the same question, the same truth you've sensed for a long time, but haven't yet dared to touch. What matters isn't understanding every sign right away. What matters is allowing yourself to believe they mean something. Each time you pause, each time you listen to your feelings, instead of arguing with them, you move closer to that truth. Not a cold or judgmental truth, but one that carries release, like a deep breath, after holding your breath for far too long. And then, in rare moments of stillness, when you stop searching for answers, you feel something inside you begin to shift. A gentle calm, a quiet sense that you are being guided, even if you don't yet know where you're going. Pisces doesn't need to force belief. Just keep observing, keep feeling, because some truths only reveal themselves when you're patient enough to let them step into the light on their own, at the right time, in the right rhythm, in a way that fits your heart perfectly. And when those signs repeat often enough, long enough, you begin to sense that an invisible hand has been gently holding you back, not allowing you to rush straight into the truth too soon. Not because you are weak, not because you are unworthy of knowing, but because your soul has already carried so much emotion, so many moments of sacrifice, so much quiet empathy, that if the truth had arrived even a little earlier, it might have caused your heart to close forever. The universe understands that. And so do you, Pisces, even if you've only recently begun to name this feeling. There are seasons in life when it feels as though you are being held in place, as if every door opens more slowly for you than it does for others. You look around and wonder why everyone else seems to move forward with ease, while you remain here, living with questions that have no answers yet. But deep inside, there is a steady, grounded part of you that knows this slowing down was never a punishment. It was quiet protection, a necessary pause, so you could learn how to stand on your own without leaning on anyone else. In those days that looked ordinary from the outside, you were healing in silence, not through dramatic breakthroughs, but by sitting with yourself when no one was watching. You learned to listen to your emotions without rejecting them. You learned to stay with your sadness long enough to understand what it was trying to teach you. You learned to release beautiful illusions that were no longer true. Each time you did, you became a little stronger, even if you never noticed it happening. The truth you had sensed all along did not disappear during that time. It simply stepped back, waiting for you to become steady enough not to be knocked down by it. Because truth doesn't only bring answers, it brings responsibility. Responsibility to yourself, to your choices, to the path your soul truly wants to walk. And Pisces, with your sensitive heart, needed to learn that you could carry that weight without losing your gentleness. There may have been moments when you blamed yourself for not facing things head on, for circling your emotions instead of confronting them. But if you look back slowly, you'll see how you've grown in your own unique way. You no longer search for validation from the outside like you once did. You no longer need someone to tell you how you should feel. You've begun to trust your own inner knowing, even when it feels uncomfortable. And in that very moment, the truth starts moving closer. The universe doesn't hide things to test you. It simply waits until you're awake enough not to betray yourself. When the answer finally arrives, when you can sit with the truth without sugarcoating it, without defending it, without running away, that's when you understand that what was delayed was never a loss. It was a gift of time, a gift of quiet growth. Now, as you sit with yourself in a calmer, quieter inner space, you can feel a gentle shift taking place. Not a change in the outside world, but a movement within, a sense that you are ready to see things exactly as they are. Nothing added, nothing taken away. And as you allow your breath to slow in that moment, you realize that something is preparing to be spoken. No longer rushed, no longer protected, simply arriving, like the last light of day touching the surface of water, soft enough not to overwhelm you, yet clear enough to let you know you are ready to receive it. And then, without any loud sign, without a dramatic event powerful enough to turn the world upside down, the truth begins to step forward on its own. It doesn't arrive like a collision. It doesn't shock you or throw you into fear. It comes softly, like a moment when you're sitting alone, and suddenly you understand why your heart has been tired for such a long time. It might be something very ordinary, a conversation that seems normal on the surface, a look that no longer hides what it feels, or simply a silence that lasts too long to keep calling it accidental. And in that moment, Pisces feels the clarity you've been waiting for. You no longer have to force scattered emotions to connect. Everything falls into place naturally, quietly, precisely. So precisely that you realize your soul has known this for a long time. The truth about a relationship, about a choice you once hesitated to make, about a path you were afraid to name out loud. Now, it is no longer unclear. It doesn't blame you for taking your time. It doesn't accuse you of being late. It simply stands there, calm and steady, waiting for you to meet it. With eyes that have grown wiser, you may have believed that when the truth finally revealed itself, it would come with great pain. But what happens is different. Instead of weighing your heart down, it brings a deep sense of relief, as if you've just set down a burden you carried for so long. You forgot how heavy it truly was. You begin to understand that what hurt you was never the truth itself. It was living too long in that half-knowing space, half-trusting, half-doubting yourself. The universe speaks in a way that suits Pisces. It doesn't push. It doesn't force movement. It simply illuminates the path in front of you. You begin to see clearly what still belongs to you and what it's time to release. No more questions circling your heart every night. No more wondering whether you were sensing things wrong. You understand now that your intuition has been guiding you, step by step, even in moments when you believed you were lost. And perhaps the most beautiful part of all is that when the truth arrives, you no longer feel alone. You realize you were guided this entire time, even on the days you thought you had been abandoned. Every experience, every emotion, every moment of waiting had its reason. And that reason was never to test you. It was to shape you into someone capable of holding the truth without losing compassion, without losing the softness that is your true nature. A quiet peace begins to move through your heart now, not an explosive joy, but a steady sense of being anchored, a feeling that you are finally standing where you belong. You don't need to rush into action. Just allow yourself to stay inside this moment of clarity, to breathe with it, to let it settle into your thoughts, into your emotions, into every part of you. Because some truths, when recognized at the right time, do not break you apart. They quietly reorganize everything within, preparing you for a deeper release, a place where you don't just understand, but are finally ready to let go of what no longer walks in rhythm with your soul. And once the truth has been acknowledged, no longer standing outside the door, something inside Pisces begins to move in a very different way. Not like a violent wave that washes everything away, but like warm water slowly rising, seeping into every hidden corner of the heart. You may have thought you would cry endlessly, that the pain would overwhelm you, that it would knock you down. But what happens is far more subtle than that. The pain is there, yes, but it's no longer sharp. It softens as if it has finally been given permission to speak what it has held inside for so long. Pisces begins to realize that the emotions once suppressed never disappeared. They were only asleep, waiting for a moment that felt safe enough to be released. And that moment arrives when you stop resisting, when you no longer try to be strong beyond what is necessary, when you stop blaming yourself for feeling too much. You allow yourself to be tired. You allow yourself to be sad. You allow the tears to fall without needing a reasonable explanation. And within that permission, something quietly miraculous happens. Your heart begins to heal itself. Old memories may return, not to cause more pain, but to be seen through different eyes. You see yourself in the past, loving with your whole heart, trusting deeply, sacrificing often, staying silent when you should have spoken. And instead of judging, you begin to feel compassion for yourself. You understand that you did the best you could with what you knew at the time. That compassion becomes the first true step toward release. During this period, Pisces may notice the body responding as well. There are moments when you want to be alone, when you crave quiet, when you want to turn down the unnecessary noise. That isn't escaping the world. It's returning inward to clear what has been stored for too long, like the tide pulling back and revealing what lies beneath the surface. You begin to see more clearly what truly belongs to you and what was only an illusion you clung to out of fear of loss. Letting go doesn't mean denying what was once beautiful. Letting go means accepting that some things have completed their purpose in your life. You don't need to hate them. You don't need to grieve endlessly. You only need to acknowledge that you deserve peace, more than you deserve to keep carrying what weighs your heart down. When you do that, emotion stops being a burden. It becomes water, washing away old layers of dust, revealing the purest part of who you are. There is a very specific moment when you notice yourself breathing more deeply, more lightly, without trying. You no longer have to control your emotions. Moment by moment, they come and they go naturally, like breath itself. You're no longer afraid of pain because you understand now that it doesn't come to stay forever. It comes to remind you that you are still alive, still able to feel, still carrying a heart that responds to truth. And within this quiet cleansing, a new inner space begins to form inside Pisces. A space of acceptance, a space of gratitude, even for the experiences that were not easy. You begin to feel lighter, not because life has become perfect, but because you are no longer fighting it. You are here, fully present with what is, nothing added, nothing hidden. And in this stillness, when emotion has been released completely, you sense a very gentle light entering. It doesn't rush. It doesn't blind. It simply offers enough clarity to help you see the path ahead. And as you sit with this sense of relief, you begin to understand something deeply important. Release is not the end of pain. It is the beginning of a new way of living, a state where your heart is finally open enough to receive what is quietly approaching, very close, very real, and fully worthy of the person you have become. And then, after everything has been faced, fully felt, and gently released in the right way, a very different morning begins to rise inside Pisces. Not a morning in the outside world, but an inner dawn where the light doesn't come from the sun, but from the clarity that has just been born. You may not notice the exact moment it begins. You only realize that you no longer wake up with that familiar heaviness in your chest. Something has shifted, quietly, deeply. The truth, once fully revealed, does not arrive as punishment. It doesn't come to remind you of where you went wrong or what you failed to do. It arrives like an early breeze, lifting the fog you lived inside for far too long. You look back on your past with different eyes now. No blame, no regret, only understanding. You understand why you felt the way you did. You understand why you hesitated. And you understand that everything had its reason. Pisces no longer feels the need to seek validation from anyone else. You don't need someone to tell you that you were right, that your feelings were valid. You already know it in your heart. Your intuition, once questioned, once dismissed as too fragile, has become your most trusted companion. It no longer speaks through anxiety, but through calm. It doesn't rush you. It simply points the way, clearly, steadily. The world outside may still be imperfect. Life may still hold challenges, new crossroads waiting ahead. But what matters is that you are no longer walking in the darkness of yourself. You know where you are going, even if the road hasn't fully appeared yet. You know who you are, even as you continue to change. And that knowing brings a quiet strength, deep, unshakable, not loud, but enduring. This dawn doesn't ask you to become someone else. It simply invites you to return to yourself, to the version of you that was once hidden beneath emotions that never had words. You begin to live more honestly, to speak more truthfully, to choose more consciously, not to please anyone else, but to stop betraying your own heart. And in that honesty, you feel lighter, freer, without needing to leave everything behind. A new kind of faith begins to grow inside Pisces. Not blind faith, that life will always be easy, but trust that whatever comes, you can meet it with gentleness and awareness. You are no longer afraid of the truth because you have walked through it and remained standing. You are no longer afraid of your emotions because you know now they didn't come to destroy you. They came to guide you home. And when you look back on the journey you've traveled, you realize something quietly powerful. What you felt all along was never a burden. It was light, kept hidden, waiting for the right moment to guide you forward. A light that doesn't blind you, doesn't pull you off course, just warm enough to help you keep going, clear enough to trust each step you take. Pisces no longer needs to ask the universe for answers, because the answer now lives inside you, quiet, steady, like a dawn that has already risen and will remain for a very long time.